Judge Gabrielle Watson stared at the blood pooling around her designer heels. The courtroom frozen in horrified silence. 3 bodies lay motionless across the polished floor, the smoking gun still warm in her trembling hand. She realized this moment would define more than just her career. As this shocking story unfolds before your eyes, tell me where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to discover how this respected judge went from upholding the law to holding a weapon in the halls of justice. What events could push a woman who devoted her life to the legal system into taking such drastic action? The answer might surprise you. The morning had begun like any other for Judge Gabrielle Watson. At 38 years old, she had achieved what many considered impossible for a Black woman from her background. Rising before dawn, she reviewed case notes while her husband Marcus, a successful corporate attorney, prepared breakfast for their 16-year-old daughter Zoe. Their modernist home in the affluent Lakeview district represented everything she had worked for since leaving behind her small-town roots. Today marked Day 7 of the high-profile corruption trial of Officer Kevin Pearson, a decorated white police officer with 22 years on the force. The charges against him included evidence tampering and excessive force against Black suspects in 3 separate incidents. The prosecution had built a compelling case, but Pearson maintained his innocence, supported vocally by the police union and quietly by many of his colleagues who filled the courtroom each day. As the first Black female federal judge in the district, Gabrielle knew every decision she made faced extraordinary scrutiny. She had overcome the whispers about her diversity appointment through meticulous preparation and unwavering adherence to legal precedent. She had earned her position through graduating top of her class at Harvard Law, followed by a sterling career as both prosecutor and defense attorney before her appointment to the bench 3 years ago. The morning's proceedings began routinely enough. Gabrielle noticed the usual subtle hostilities from certain court officers, deliberately slow responses to her requests, the overfamiliarity with defense counsel, the barely concealed looks of disdain. She had developed thick skin for such behavior years ago. The prosecution called their technical expert, who had analyzed Officer Pearson's body cam footage from the incidents in question. The expert methodically presented damning evidence. Pearson's camera showed clear footage of him planting a small bag of white powder in a suspect's car, while his partner distracted the driver. Even more disturbing, the audio captured Pearson later bragging to fellow officers about how he put another one of them away. The defense attorney, Lawrence Bennett, immediately objected, claiming the footage had been doctored. "Your Honor, we have serious concerns about the chain of custody for this evidence and request time to have our own experts examine the original footage." Bennett spoke with practiced confidence, clearly expecting his request to be granted, as it had been in similar cases before other judges. Gabrielle reviewed the prosecution's documentation. "Mr. Bennett, the prosecution has provided complete authentication records for this evidence. Your motion to exclude is denied. The jury will be permitted to view the footage in its entirety." From the corner of her eye, she noticed Officer Pearson shift in his seat, his face flushing with anger. During a tense mid-morning recess, Gabrielle retreated to her chambers to review additional motions. Her clerk Samantha handed her a plain envelope that had been delivered with the morning mail. "This came for you, Judge. No return address." Inside was a single sheet of paper with a typed message. "We know about 1224 Riverside Road. Zoe leaves calculus class at 2:15 every Monday and Thursday. Back off now." Gabrielle's blood ran cold. Riverside Road was her childhood address in a town she never discussed, and the details about Zoe's schedule were precisely accurate. She immediately called court security, who promised to look into it, but seemed dismissive. "Probably just someone trying to rattle you, Judge. Happens all the time in high-profile cases." When proceedings resumed, the prosecution presented additional body cam evidence showing Officer Pearson using excessive force against a handcuffed suspect, repeatedly slamming the young Black man's head against a patrol car while using racial slurs. Several jurors visibly recoiled at the footage. Gabrielle maintained her professional composure, but inside she felt a growing unease as she noticed Pearson's expression darkening with each new piece of evidence. His right leg bounced rapidly under the defense table, and he repeatedly leaned over to whisper urgently to his attorney. When Bennett attempted another motion to exclude evidence based on procedural grounds, Gabrielle again denied it, citing clear precedent. Pearson's face contorted with rage. She had seen that expression before, on defendants moments before situations escalated dangerously. She caught the eye of the bailiff, giving a subtle nod toward Pearson. The bailiff seemed to notice nothing unusual and merely smiled politely in return. As the prosecution prepared to call their next witness, Gabrielle couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to break. The threat to her family, the mounting evidence against Pearson, the unusual tension in the courtroom, it all converged into a knot of dread in her stomach. She had faced prejudice throughout her career, had received threats before, but this felt different, more immediate, more dangerous. And as the next witness took the stand, a young black man Pearson had allegedly assaulted, she saw something change in the defendant's eyes, a decision being made, a line being crossed. The prosecution's witness described how Officer Pearson had detained him without cause, subjected him to a humiliating search in public, and then planted evidence. His testimony corroborated perfectly with the body cam footage already entered into evidence. Throughout the testimony, Gabrielle noticed Pearson becoming increasingly agitated. His attorney repeatedly placed a restraining hand on his arm, whispering urgently into his ear. The defense's cross-examination attempted to paint the witness as anti-police with a criminal record, but the young man remained composed, his account unwavering. When Bennett requested yet another sidebar to argue about limiting testimony, Gabrielle denied it firmly. "The witness will be permitted to complete his testimony, Mr. Bennett. The jury is entitled to hear the full account." That's when something in Officer Pearson snapped. With surprising speed for his stocky build, he leapt over the defense table, sending legal pads and water pitchers crashing to the floor. "You black bitch!" he screamed, spittle flying from his mouth as he lunged toward the bench. "This is all rigged!" The courtroom erupted into chaos. Jurors scrambled from the box, spectators pushed toward the exits, the prosecutor dove under his table. Most shocking of all, the court officers seemed frozen, uncertain whether to restrain one of their own. Only the bailiff moved toward Pearson, but too slowly. Gabrielle reached for the panic button under her bench, but before she could press it, Pearson pulled something from under his jacket, a small handgun that had somehow made it through security. Later, Gabrielle would wonder if someone had helped him bypass the metal detectors. Time seemed to slow as the gun came level with her face. She saw every detail with crystal clarity. The sweat beading on Pearson's flushed forehead, the slight tremor in his hand, the cold, black eye of the barrel just inches from her temple. "You think you can judge me? Some affirmative action appointment thinks she can destroy my life?" Pearson snarled, pressing the weapon against her skin. 22 years on the force keeping your people in line, and this is what I get? Gabrielle didn't close her eyes, didn't flinch. Somehow, in that moment of terror, she found a well of steel within herself. "Officer Pearson, you are holding a federal judge at gunpoint. Put down your weapon. Now." Her voice remained steady, authoritative despite the circumstances. Pearson's laugh was ugly. "Or what, you'll sentence me? I'm already finished and we both know it, but I'm taking you with me, Your Honor." The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space of the courtroom. Then another, and another. But it wasn't Pearson firing. Two plain-clothes individuals, a man and a woman who had been sitting quietly in the back row throughout the trial, had drawn weapons with remarkable coordination. 3 bullets struck Pearson in successive rounds, chest, shoulder, neck. He staggered backward, the gun discharging wildly as he fell. Searing pain exploded in Gabrielle's shoulder as one of the bullets, Pearson's or her rescuer's, she couldn't tell, tore through her judicial robe and into flesh. Blood bloomed across the black fabric as she collapsed back into her chair, the courtroom spinning around her. Through the ringing